Welcome back to What the Flick. I'm Matt, that's Christy. Down at the end is Ben and Alonso Duralde.
Sometimes known as Alonso Durante.
Durante, oh.
You've
It's like a race car driver.
Your grandfather Jimmy was.
Have you been? Has that happened to you?
With some frequency. I've been
like more than 100, probably, right?
Well, I mean, in terms of in print, I mean, a couple dozen.
I'm counting people calling you.
Oh, in jail, yeah.
Because I mean,
thousands.
I did it for like a year.
I get Lorenzo, Orlando. I pretty much will answer to anything that begins and ends in a vowel. You know, I'm your guy.
Zaldomo.
So, new home video recommendations this week. There's a lot of stuff coming out because. You know, it's that time of the week. But some good ones, right? There's one that you are you're picking a different one. I'm picking your movie, the movie you've been raving about.
I have bequeathed you my movie out of the kindness of my heart. And I'm gonna use my noblesse oblige to spread the love.
Yes.
So I'm picking The Tribes of Palos Verdes, which nobody saw, which is a really solid, kind of well-made, well-acted, guilty pleasure about this family that moves out to Palos Verdes here in Southern California. This is a very remote part of Southern California where you would have no idea you were actually anywhere near Los Angeles. And Jennifer Garner is the mom, Justin Kirk is the heart surgeon dad, and they have two twin teenagers. One's Micah Monroe, one's Cody Fern, and it's how they adjust to life in this incredibly beautiful, but also kind of intimidating place, kind of societally challenging and demanding place. And it's kind of like, you know, the mom does a lot of drugs to numb the pain, and the dad's philandering, and the kids find their own ways of escape, but they get into surfing, and it has a really rich sense of place, and the surfing scenes are shot really beautifully. And Jennifer Garner is great in this. She doesn't get a chance to play a lot of really heavy dramatic roles. She's so funny and has such great comic timing that she doesn't get a chance to show that side of her ability. And she does here very, very well. So it kind of came in wet, but it is worth catching up with. The Tribes of Palos Verdes. Yes.
So isn't Alicia Silverstone in that?
She is.
Yeah.
She has a very small role.
So Jennifer Garner is obviously funny, and there is no more disappointing commercial line than her Capital One ads.
Oh, she's so cute, though.
They're horrible. They're all failures across the board. I mean, the other ones, some of the other ones are good. Alec Baldwin's were pretty good. Sam Jackson's, of course. And for whatever reason, it's just like the librarian off screen, and she's like, oh! I mean, like they just take this enormously talented. I mean, whatever they're paying her, I'm sure it's a lot, but. It's a giant mistake. She needs to get in there and get those rewritten.
Well, she's doing a new HBO series.
I cut up my credit card and broke it.
Take that.
Yeah.
Alonso.
Alonso, thank you. Okay, so my friend Maria, who works at Filmstruck and TCM, tweeted over the weekend that there are a lot of streaming films from one of my favorite filmmakers, Australian director Gillian Armstrong. If you subscribe to
TCM Classic Film Festival, April 26th through 29th.
Yeah. Oh, she's gonna be there?
Yeah, she will.
Oh, God, and I'm gonna be out of town. Furious.
Who's gonna be there? Gillian Armstrong?
Yeah.
So will Mariah.
Sorry.
Okay, so if you're lucky enough to be in LA, you've got that to look forward to. Anyway, the bunch of her stuff is streaming online. If you get Canopy, K-A-N-O-P-Y, which a lot of library card systems will allow you to use for free, and you get like the whole Criterion collection. They've got My Brilliant Career. Filmstruck has Starstruck, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and one other one I forget. And anyway, there's several also on Netflix. I want to highlight The Last Days of Shay Nu. It is a comedy drama from 1992. It stars Carrie Fox and Bruno Ganz. It's about a marriage that is sort of on its final legs, that kind of gets the death blow delivered when the wife's sister comes to visit. It's one of those movies that I have hung onto my VHS tape for years because it never got a US DVD release, but now it is on Netflix, and it's a really great movie, and it's been hard to watch in this country, or hard to find in this country for a long time. So I really recommend it. Armstrong is a humane and intelligent director. She really gets these sort of intimate dramas and sort of, you know, uncomfortably funny moments as well as any filmmaker out there. And so her version of Little Women from 1994, which you've probably seen with Winona Ryder, also now streaming on Netflix, and her documentary Women He's Undressed, all really good. But check out The Last Days of Shay Nu, because you quite possibly have never seen it or even heard of it.
Maybe I'll check that out now.
You should.
Based on your recommendation. Ben, do you have a recommendation for home video this week?
Well, I'd like to bring this conversation down. As I usually do. So I have two. Along Came Polly's on Netflix, and I think it's underrated.
Just that one scene is good. For the one scene.
Yeah, right. The Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ben Stiller basketball scene.
Just go to YouTube and find that scene.
I still think Jennifer Aniston is undervalued only because she's dismissed so much. But the real recommendation is DVD. I was frustrated by it when watching it, but I think about it a lot. Molly's Game is out on DVD from Aaron Sorkin, and Jessica Chastain is really good.
You can skip that last scene with Kevin Costner.
Oh my God, yeah, skip that.
How bad it is.
I love Kevin Costner. I do. Kevin Costner makes me feel good when he's in a movie. It was a challenge in this one to feel good about those Kevin Costner scenes. Again, it wasn't Kevin Costner's fault. They had no business in the movie. It was unnecessary.
He's the Jennifer Garner in the credit card commercials of Molly's Game.
Oh, by the way, he's okay in the flashback scene. The flashback scene,
yes,
that's fine. That part's fine. It's just where the coming together, the older Jessica Chastain and their rapprochement is horrific. And some of the stuff between Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba is again, it's too much. And when Sorkin gets it right, it's gold, and then when he doesn't, you're like, come on, man. Nobody talks to me. I had the experience last night that we're going to do a Facebook Live review of it later. Alfonso and I are of Billions. And sometimes I'm like, these guys know too much about they spend 18 hours a day studying the markets. They can't know this much about sports and movies
and Japan.
And Japan. It's impossible. There's a lot of Aaron Sorkin bleeding into Billions, which is still fun, but I'm like, come on. True story, by the way, listen to Mark Thompson's podcast, The Edge with Mark Thompson. You'll find an interview with the real Molly, which is super interesting, and you'll learn, as many already have, that the character played by Michael Cera, who plays a big-time actor, is Tobey Maguire.
We talked about that on this very show.
Yeah, right. I know, but she goes into some nice detail. But anyway, so Molly's Game, it will frustrate you, but unquestionably in the end, it's worth seeing.
All right. My recommendation this week, because Christy couldn't get to it, but I also like this movie, is Phantom Thread. Now, this one we couldn't watch via screeners. They made us go see it on the big screen.
As well they should.
As well they should. However, if you're going to watch this at home, I would say you'll live. It's okay, but you want to wear good headphones or have a really good sound system, because I think the sound design in this movie is as essential as the cinematography. And although the cinematography in this film is beautiful, the sound in this is fantastic, particularly the breakfast scenes that are so quiet, and yet you never thought putting butter on toast could possibly be that noisy to the point that it sounds like the end of the world and an avalanche.
Well, breakfast is a very important time. It's when he's his most creative.
Yes.
Also, you need headphones or whatever, a great sound system for the Johnny Greenwood score.
Yes.
Which is perhaps his best ever and should have won the Academy Award and won at LAFCA, because we have good taste. We picked it for best music. But
he also did the score for You Were Never Really Here, which is currently in theaters.
Which we reviewed last week.
So this is allegedly Daniel Day-Lewis's final performance in film. We've heard that before. I think he's going to come back.
So they had that picture of him. By the way, it was my second or third favorite movie about stitching in 2017. The second. So there was a photo. Somebody found a photo. Somebody took a photo of Daniel Day-Lewis on the
flip phone.
On the flip phone on the subway. It was like handsome man with a flip phone.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
That's how you don't get hacked.
Yeah. So those are recommendations this week. So check them out. They're streaming on Amazon. All of the titles we've mentioned, and I think some of them available on DVD.